Hello YouTubers. In this video, we're going to be coding out LED hyperflashing errors associated with the BMW X5. As you saw in a previous video, I told you I installed LED bulbs everywhere around the car, and I did not install a resistor anywhere. And I'll show you what that is now. The resistor's purpose is to trick most cars into believing that what's installed on the bulb is indeed a halogen bulb, because a halogen bulb draws a lot of power and the car is looking for that power draw. Well, LEDs don't draw any power, or hardly any power, and so the system thinks that the bulb is not working because there's no power being drawn from the car that it's looking for. So most people put in a resistor, it draws the power for the LED bulb, and thereby tricking the car into thinking that it is indeed a halogen bulb installed. With BMW, you don't need a resistor. All you need to do is code out the problem. And this video may work for other cars, but I do know that it works on the E70 with no problem. I have tried the F30, my son's BMW 3 Series. It works on that. I'm sure it works on other models, and I'm sure what I'm about to show you can transcend these vehicles. So, what I'm going to be talking about is specifically the X5, and we'll go from there. So, now, before you do this, I recommend, you've seen this in other videos where I leave my cord connected to the car. That way, when I do coding things on the car with ISTA or with Carly, I just plug it in. That way I have a constant voltage and I don't have to worry about draining the battery while I do work associated with coding and things like that. And you know, I put that in because I do the coding, and I like doing the coding. I like turning something on, seeing what happens, and putting it back. The worst case scenario with the Carly is you can restore back the file that you used that was made before you made the change. Because before Carly allows you to make a change, it's going to make a backup. So worst case scenario, you put the change back in place, or you revert to the original settings. So let's get into it. Let's get the car going. I'll show you what's going on with the car, how it's currently programmed, and then we're going to revert the changes to start monitoring voltage, because right now it is not monitoring voltage for the turn signals. We're going to enable that so that you can see hyperflashing, and then we're going to disable it again so that you can see how coding can remove the problem. So let's jump into it. So here's the current state of the car. It's flashing with no hyperflashing as voltage monitoring is turned off. And so the car is working as I expect because I have already coded this out. But what we're about to do is we're going to put the problem back in, and we're going to tell it to start monitoring voltage. And that will show you, that should re-enable hyperflashing. So let's jump into it. So before we get going, I just wanted to show you that we're going to be doing this coding with the Carly connected car device. This is what I use for a majority of the coding work that I do. I only use ISTA for deep dive diagnostic things. So we're going to jump in, or plug in, the Carly into the car, and then we'll get started. So we got our Carly plugged into the car, and we'll click the app. Here's the app, and we're going to click connect down at the bottom. And connect again. And now the Bluetooth adapter and the phone are communicating with one another, so we're going to make sure that is going. It's talking to the car. And now here are our options. We're going to select customization. Customization, right there it is. And we'll click continue. And we're going to check for coding possibilities here. And so we have 12 ECUs on the car, and we're going to click OK. And here is a pop-up about the digital garage. This is before Carly. It allows you to make any changes. It does a backup of whatever it is you select. We're just going to click OK because we don't need to do a restore. We'll just click OK here. And we're going to select the FRM module. Right there she is. And we're going to check readout from the FRM. So now it's talking to the car, talking to that particular ECU to figure out what are our options. What can we code and what can we not code? What we cannot code will not show up. Only things we can do will appear here. So we'll click OK. And now we are into the ECU. And we're going to scroll down until we get to front turn signals or turn signal front voltage monitoring. This is what we want to disable, voltage monitoring. Currently, I have it disabled, but for this purpose, I want to re-enable it so that you can see hyperflashing. So right now, as you can see, I have the voltage monitoring turned off, and we're going to turn them back on. So select the first one, the turn signal front 1/2, and turn it on. And we'll do the same thing for the 2/2. Now, both front turn signal voltage monitorings are on. And we're going to scroll down for the rear. There, the rear. We're going to make the same changes here. 1/2 is on, and now 2/2 is on. And here it talks about voltages. Just click code anyway, and agree to the terms, and code now. Coding is going in, and we will give it a shot, see what it looks like. So I'm turning off the system after making that code change to start monitoring voltage. We're going to turn the car back on without turning it all the way back on. And let's give a signal. Here's our hyperflashing. It's returned. Check the other side. Yep. Nope. For some reason, the right side is fine. This is not uncommon. Let me tell you, when I buy bulbs, most of them say error-free. That means that CAN bus free, CAN bus problems free. Those are jargon words that are associated with BMWs and Volkswagens and other cars that monitor for the voltage. And what it is to imply that you should be able to install these bulbs without an error. Now, just like the right and left on this car, they're the same bulbs, but the right is fine, the left is not. This is not uncommon. But to remove the problem overall, without having to worry about it, we're going to go back into Carly and we're going to tell it to quit monitoring voltage, and things will go back to normal. So let's go back to the Carly app and make those changes back to what it was. Just reopen our Carly app and go back to our front voltage monitoring, and we're going to select turn them off. And as you can see, it's selecting off, but it still shows on. But don't worry about it. Change the other one to off. And we'll scroll down and look for the rear. And here we are. So we'll go in and make the change to off. As you can see, I'm slowing it down so you can see off was selected. Here's the second one to off. And you'll see it scroll down nice and slow as I can make it. And here we're just going to go back in just to make sure that indeed it did keep the settings and it is off. And we're going to select code now. And we'll select code anyway. We'll agree to the terms again and select code now. The changes are going in, and click OK. Okay, so we've just made the changes again, changing them back to not monitoring voltage. Let's turn the car off. Car is going off. Car is off. Cut it back on. And now let's give a signal. So now, as you can see, the errors are free. We are no longer hyper flashing. And I am really glad that you saw that hyper flashing on the left side was happening, but on the right side was not. There's just no rhyme or reason to some of these bulbs when you get them from the manufacturer. That's why I really don't care if they, for the BMW, why I really don't care if they say error free. Because with the BMW and with the Carly app, I can code it out and I don't have to worry about it. And again, I don't have to worry about the needing a resistor and tying that in, because that's, you know, that's a lot of extra work that's unnecessary when you can just use the Carly app and take care of it yourself. So, YouTubers, if you like the video, like the video.